I'll call the State Fair Community College Board of Trustees meeting for June 27th, 2024 to order. We welcome all of you. I would entertain a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Citizens comment?
Was that raised finger a vote yes there for you? Okay. Yes, no.
Yeah, do this.
Yeah.
We have Amy joining us from out of state. I guess we want to make sure she's.
On how much delay?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. You good to go, Amy?
Yes, I couldn't figure out how to turn mute off. Sorry.
Her mic's not on.
Maybe. Can you all hear me?
We can't hear you, Amy, so,
Can you hear us?
Yes.
She can hear us.
okay, so vote with hand signals, and if you have questions or something, you can write them in the chat.
Okay. All righty. Okay, so citizens' comments. Do we have any, Lisa?
We have no citizens' comments.
All right. And now it's time for introductions of new employees. Looks like the room is full, so anxious to meet.
Yeah, well, Andy introduced 3 new employees that some have been here a while. They just haven't introduced yet, but 3 new employees in our maintenance and facilities group.
We have a large group, so we've limited them to 15-minute speeches.
You ready?
Yeah, jump up, go ahead. Hand up to the mic. Dave's ready.
Nice. Gavin is custodian with us here at the college. He's working over at the Workforce Innovation Center. Started out with us as a temp employee through agency and did a good job, so we brought him on full time over there to do that. And he's been with us as an employee now currently since April, started back January the 10th.
Welcome, Gavin.
Welcome, Gavin.
Next up is George Albers. George started with us in April. He's a maintenance technician. You might recognize George, previous owner of US Rents and Sales here in Sedalia. A wealth of experience as a maintenance man from the district here. Most recently worked up at Whiteman Air Force Base. So happy to get George on.
Welcome,
George.
Up, we got Sean. Probably recognize Sean. He's been around campus. Been working through since 2018, kind of on a part-time basis. So was able to bring it in on full time. Started June 1st. So, get him into a full-time position here on campus. Many years of experience here. He was instrumental in the remodel here of the board of trustees room here. So most recently doing a lot of mowing, seeing him around campus. So
And a veteran, Air Force veteran, right?
Yes, sir.
Welcome, Sean.
You did a great job on that.
Yeah, room looks great.
that's all I got.
All right, thank you. Dr. Whitehead.
I have 3 folks to introduce to you this evening. I'm going to start with Jennifer Swift. Jennifer is our new associate registrar, working with Dr. Roberts in the registrar's office. Jennifer lives in Marshall. She and her family are in Marshall and came to us from Mo Valley. Worked in alumni relations. Their foundation is no stranger to databases and compliance. So we're tickled to have her in the position that she's in at State Fair. Next to Jennifer is Mackenzie Dillner. Kinsey, right? You can drop the Mac. The Mac is silent, right? It's just Kinsey. Kinsey most recently came from Pilot Grove Schools, where she was an educator, oversaw testing there and any other little thing at a small school that the assistant principal or principal might have asked her to do. Kinsey is downstairs running the testing center. She's our testing coordinator. And then Kelly Munch is our new assistant registrar. She also works with Jennifer and Dr. Roberts in the registrar's office. Kelly is from the area. Everyone is local-ish, right? And I think we decided the two of you are alumni. Jennifer and Kinsey attended State Fair. Kelly didn't attend State Fair necessarily, but she is a community college product. She and I were some of the first employees in the Table Rock campus for OTC, a little farther south of here. But Kelly came to us from Katy Trail Community Health, so most recently left healthcare. Again, no stranger to databases and compliance and privacy information. So we feel good about the registrar's office and the testing center now, all in great hands. And I'm an alumni. I did go here. Oh, you did go here for a little while, right? But you jumped ship and went down south.
Welcome to each of you.
Thank you.
You coming in?
Oh, good evening. On your screen is my employee. This is Dr. Trika Young. She and her family are basically lifelong residents of Jefferson City for the most part. She's involved in all kinds of civic organizations such as United Way. In April, she was elected as the first African-American female to the Jefferson City City Council. She has 3 degrees from Lincoln University, and earlier this month completed the requirements to earn her doctorate from the University of Missouri. So we're looking forward to her experience, her knowledge of Jeff City and Lincoln University to really lead us in that area. Welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Thank you, Jim.
Dr. Young speaks, lots to speak.
Our speaker.
Our speaker.
Our speaker.
Our end.
Am I good? I just want to say hello to everyone. I look forward to serving State
We're not
Fair.
hearing yet. Dr. Young, just a second here. We're seeing if we can figure it out. Let's try one other thing here. Oh, yeah, speaker stuff. Troy's talking now.
Can you hear me now? Yay.
Available for consult.
I just want to keep it short and just say hello to everyone, and I look forward to serving State Fair Community College in this community. So thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure to have you on staff, and I think she's already doubled the enrollment there, so. That's good news. Good news. Welcome. Welcome very much. Dean Leonard.
I'd like to introduce you to Taylor Dusko. She is our new collab lab coordinator and outreach liaison as we're developing and expanding our career services and tech center. She is also quite the academic. So she is, she's from Sedalia. In 20 from Cotton. And she attended State Fair after a little stint in Stevens College in Columbia there. But she has dabbled in just about everything we offer, which makes her like the perfect employee, especially as we're trying to reach our new students. So she does have a background in welding, HVAC, construction management. And she's currently pursuing her bachelor's in business administration, just to kind of round it all out. And that's with CMU. But happy to have her here, and she's going to be a great addition to our team.
Welcome, Taylor.
The only problem is Taylor will no longer be able to do my HVAC. It's a disappointment.
We feel the same page, Richard.
Well, welcome to each of you. All right, back to the agenda. Looks like it's time for the approval of the minutes for the May 23rd, 2024 board meeting. Published, sent out to us. Yeah, here we go. Thank you for coming in. You've had a moment to look at the minutes from the May 23rd meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Right here, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Amy, I think we can hear you now, so say something.
Something.
Yes.
Yeah, so I guess it was on our end, wasn't it, Amy? and trying to figure out what's going on. Thank you for reminding me about that. All right, we're ready for the warrant for May 2024 from Keith.
So in May of 2024, the college dispersed per the schedule you have there, but dispersed $5,285,242. Of that, I want to point out that $1,228,235 was to Centric Construction for the CAT building project. And $1,228,235 was paid to PCE for the residence hall construction.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to accept that report.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Institutional reports.
Oh, Dean Allison. What's gonna do the introduction of this institutional?
Yes, I'm happy to introduce a stellar health science team member, Beverly Marquez, to do the institutional report. Beverly started working here around the same time I did, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Something like that.
December 2011.
She's a great leader in our division. She's involved in lots of different things. But she's here to tell you tonight about one of her programs that she oversees, health information technology. Come on down. We've been in retreat all day, so this is phase 2.
You're worn out then.
Actually, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun today. So a lot of people don't really understand what health information technology is. Do any of you, other than that we do medical coding and we give you your medical record, do you know any of the other things we do? Most people don't. Unfortunately, the pandemic really put us out there because all those statistics that you were seeing came from medical records that we reported. We also work in prisons because we have to make sure that all of the inmates and those people are, they get their yearly exams and all those things. We work in law offices because, you know, we are keepers of the record, best person to be able to say, hey, this is a full record or not. I like to tell the students that come on our career exploration days that, believe it or not, we also work in large zoos. Animals have medical records. They have to have their yearly exams and everything. And those really large zoos have us come in and manage that. One of the nice things I like about the profession is we have a hand pretty much in everything. Except we don't do the direct patient care, but you might see us right there next to a nurse or a doctor. A lot of ERs, not Bothwell, but like the big city ERs, they have scribes that are the HIT people following the doctor and documenting while he is, you know, running from one place to the other in the ER. I mentioned that we do medical coding. So we do the coding and the billing, which means that we take the diagnosis and we put a code to it that will electrically or electronically get submitted and claims paid, and we get to, you know, pay for services. One of our students, actually it was a radiology student, once I was showing everything that we do and he says, so we can't do what we do without you. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, yes. So anything that you can think of that has a, you know, anything with a record, radiology to, you know, that person who sits there and takes your information, checks you in, that is all part of health information technology. We are getting closer to, we've always been kind of that intermediary between the clinical staff and the computer people. And we're able to sit there and kind of translate for either side. Recently, we have really started looking into the informatics, and now we are the ones that are kind of writing the code to bring out the reports that we need. We're sitting with the electronic health record companies, telling them, you know, this new mandate came down through the government. We need this in the chart. And the doctor says, well, when I'm seeing the patient, I can't click here, here, and here. IT says, well, we can put it anywhere you want. And so we're the ones that say, well, where are we not going to miss it? Because we really have to report this information. So that's the kind of thing that we are telling our students. We have now become a demonstration program. And what that means is our accreditors have decided to change our curriculum more to a doing on real scenarios than reading about it and writing paper. The papers that I gave you kind of explain a little bit of that experiential learning. So as that demonstration program, we are in our re-accreditation cycle. They are using us as kind of, we're going to have you work through this. Let us know what works, what doesn't work. So by 2026, when every HIT program that's accredited has to be on this curriculum, we've ironed out all of the creases. The other reason we really wanted to be the demonstration program is that they hold our hand kind of through the whole accreditation. So when they come for their site visit in April, it's going to be easy peasy. We're already going to know. I sit on one of the accreditors' boards. So I kind of had a hand in creating these things and still working with it as the chair of that committee. I think that this is going to really be phenomenal for our students. Right now, it is a lot of work. We're having to redo all of our curriculum. The good thing is I've always had the standard that we will teach higher than the minimum. So we're already kind of doing these. We just need to tweak our assignments a little bit where they're more with real patient data as opposed to something we made as simulation. Any questions about anything that I told you about?
How many students did you say?
Oh, we have 55 declared enrolled students. There are about 10 to 15 that are kind of hanging out there. You might take a class here and then they kind of drop off and we bring them back. But 55 regular enrolled.
It is our only fully online health science AAS. So it's a really great opportunity for students who want to be in a health science program who can't come to campus or want just an online learning environment. So,
or if they don't want the patient care part, but they still want to be in healthcare. One of the nice things is now some of the nursing students that have been working, they come back and they're like, well, now we want to know a little bit more about the record. And that makes them perfect for like clinical documentation and improvement for those quality people. So we kind of can take all of the programs that we have and kind of marry with them. Recently, it's been our medical assisting program. They'll do a year in that, and then they continue to our program. So they come out with not just the medical assisting, but now they can do the coding and they can do like the data analysis and all of that. So we've kind of worked together, worked with Jill to make sure that, you know, we offer some of the same classes to make it easy for them to, you know, continue.
I want to say too that Beverly was selected Our program was selected as a demonstration program. It was a competition basically. And they only selected programs that were of high quality, who had a great track record. So that was quite an honor that our program was selected.
So do your students have clinicals then, like other health science programs?
Yes, our very last semester, we have them go to a clinical site. Our accreditors say that now with this new curriculum, we're going to be doing a lot of our simulation on real things. So if we didn't want to send them, we didn't have to. I've made the decision to continue. They're making those connections, they're, networking, really seeing what, a professional person in that setting does. So we will continue with that.
So how does that work if you're from Jefferson City and you're taking the online class? You have to come to Sedalia for that, or?
No, we will reach out. Actually, in our entire service area, there's a hospital that we already have agreements with that we will have them go to. I've had some people halfway through that they have moved out of state, and we have actually worked with that with them. Our credential that we get is a national credential. So, wherever they're at, they can continue, finish, get that experience at that clinical site.
So students graduate here, and what credential do they get?
With us as a associate degree, they will get the coding credential. We also have the professional certificate where they can just get the coding. And then once they get the associates, they can sit as a registered health information technologist. So they could potentially leave my program with 2 credentials under their belt and an associate degree, which my advisory committee is now telling me that they won't hire anybody unless they have an associate degree, no matter what those credentials are, even though they still want the credentials. But that's the final thing that gets them hired, is that associate degree.
Your placement rate's good?
Yes. We have even had like a lot of people that come from the factory. So they don't have that background. That's why we put them in that clinical setting. And like, I would say Bothwell, pretty much all of their people are our people.
A couple of years ago, the world discovered remote work. 15 years ago, Beverly was the first remote worker at State Fair Community College. So she would, in this fully online program, lived in Illinois and was full-time employed at State Fair Community College. So State Fair Community College is always on the cutting edge.
She loved us so much, she moved her whole family here.
I did. Yeah. Well,
Any questions? Thank you, Beverly.
Thank you. All right, so now we're ready for the FY 2025 military tuition fee rates revision.
Presenting to you a revision to the way we charge the military rate. This week can become effective the second 8-week classes of fall 2024. We can't do it before then because of the notification requirements in the military. That's the 90-day requirement to change things. So it's recommended that effective with the second 8-week classes in fall 2024, in order to meet the 90-day military tuition change requirement, the military rate for covered individuals under U.S. Code Section 379 Veterans Benefits, including White Men Air Force Base active duty personnel, their spouse, independent children, and who do not meet in-district residency requirements, and set at the board-approved Missouri resident rate tuition online, on-ground, and hybrid courses. Also effective with the second 8-week classes in fall 2024, the technology fee will also be waived for online, on-ground, and hybrid courses for the military-related students designated herein. So.
All right, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any questions or discussion?
I think Dr. I asked him about this and about, or Keith, what's the effect on revenue?
So the revenue is basically zero. It has zero budget rate. What it does do is a much more military friendly way of doing our fee structure and tuition structure with them. As you know, we have a tuition rate, we have a technology fee rate. With tuition assistance, they're allowed to pay for tuition, but not for fees. So prior to this, we had actually waived we had reduced our online tuition rate for them by the differential. But that differential back in the tuition side of it, they can pay that and then not pay on the technology fee. So the tuition differential is $50, technology fee $45. So it's essentially a wash. But now out of pocket for the military folks, their tuition assistance will pay for all of it before they would have to pay out of pocket the technology fee for it. So we're changing this just as we learn a little more of how to make things more friendly for folks.
With revenue change, and it's student friendly and military friendly combination. I think it's something we should pursue and do.
Right, any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passes. All right, FY 2024 increased budget authority. Keith?
The next two items 9 and 10 are separate sides of the same coin. So we'll start with the increased budget authority, and then we'll also say why we're doing it. But as you all know, we have a favorable budget variance this year. So which has been good for us, and we would like to, due to that positive budget variance to date, and in the forecast for the remainder of the 24, which is 1 month, or actually less than 1 month, that's a day. We do have the positive variance in there for that. Recommended the Board of Trustees approve an FY 2024 budget authority increase of 107,046.37 to specifically be used for an upgraded renewal of our Smartsheet productivity software as a service program. But with that, including additional modules, add-on modules for our enterprise-wide project management functions. Those are very specific functions that are going to help our productivity internally, efficiency. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But this increased budget authority is specifically to this particular purchase.
I know 9 and 10 sort of merge, but what's the rationale for, or the reason why we'd like to recommend doing this during this fiscal year rather than the next fiscal year?
Well, next fiscal, we actually did not have in the budget presented to you today. We had the Smartsheet in there, which is roughly half of this amount, but the additional productivity modules are not in that. So that came in, was a recommendation later on in our budget process from IT and some others that felt this is a very, very good product. We agree it's a good product, but the budget 2025 did not allow for that. By doing this, we can take advantage of the surplus we have in 24 and get this done.
And then additionally, savings for the renewal, $10,000 savings for the renewal for the total package. So moved.
All right, we have a motion. Do I hear second?
Second.
Any other questions that we need to have answered before we vote? All in favor, say aye.
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 Well, same sign. Motion passes.
And 10 then is we're actually spending the increased budget authority that we've been given from 2024. So it's recommended the Board of Trustees accept the following quote, or the enclosed quote, $107,046.37 from Smartsheet for the upgrade renewal of the Smartsheet productivity program, plus the additional modules for our enterprise-wide project management functions. Funding will now be the additional funding just approved from the FY 24 operating budget.
If you don't mind, I'd like to back up just a second to put this into context, some more context. You have some materials in the board packet that explains some rationale on this, but we have two strategic planning initiatives that have really led us to recommend this project. One, we have a group working on project management, and from our listening posts and employee feedback, employees had concerns about adding on additional projects and not being sensitive to workloads as we just kind of pile on more work. And so a group started working on that and developed a project management system where we could be very thoughtful and purposeful as we bring on new projects and assign resources to those projects. That that project was built on a base in Smartsheet. Additionally, we had a project to improve program review, and that was led by Dr. Murders and the team. And they have extensively improved our program and service to make it much more functionable and usable. And that project too relied on Smartsheet as a basis for it. So the upgraded modules in Smartsheet that we're getting with this product automate the processes for both project management and program review. So it'll automate creation of dashboards and other management tools. So really we can, we'll be able to view the projects across the institution from down in the weeds detail to a level of management for the Board of Trustees. So for instance, in January, when we bring a report review to the Board of Trustees, expect us to use the Smartsheet program to provide a summary of all the program review results. It would be practically impossible for us to do it because we'd have to build one of these kind of products individually. It would be very labor intensive. So I've drank the Kool-Aid, the Smartsheet Kool-Aid with the folks. Mark Haverly would be here and say this, but he is sick today. He wrote a script for me to read that says basically that, but he led the project management group, and we have had demonstrations. It's a very good product. The 107,000 is our total Smartsheet license. We already pay a portion of that, so there's an additional charge for these new materials, but don't think these new modules are going to cost $107,000. It's for the whole package, and we get a discount for extending our license early. So, any questions?
And what kind of costs going forward? Because is the subscription term, it says it ends in July 10 of 2025. So what's our going forward costs annually on this?
There's the implementation part that would be taken out, and there's probably a 3%.
Yeah. In roughly 95 to 100, that would fall into our FY26 budget. At that point, we'll see, what it goes to, but it will probably go up by whatever the CPI goes up after on that. So we'll just say between 90 and 100,000.
We went through since this came in late in our budget process, the executive leadership team spent a lot of time on this, made it a priority, and almost every department agreed to give up part of their budget to fund this renewal for the functionality that will improve their operations for the next fiscal year.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve. I hear second.
Second.
Any more questions before we move on? Appreciate that explanation. Appreciate the research that's being done to, look into it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, motion passes. All right, now the fiscal year 2025 budget.
Sandwiched in the middle of all of this is the budget. I'll talk you through the budget. As you know, last meeting, we looked at the budget, we looked at everything, and the budget has not materially changed since that time. There have been some refinements, but overall it stayed basically the same. Want to remind you of a few things here on doing the budget. Obviously, you all set direction for us when we began, just a bit over a year ago. That direction we followed throughout this in terms of making sure we met the needs of our employees, the needs of our students. In addition to that, we this year very, very diligent, and I would say the word is diligent, making sure that all of the various budget departments and various budget managers, ELT, were very involved in the creation of the budget. We started early in the fall with understanding what their needs were, what their stories are. We met with the various groups. We developed multiple preliminary budgets. We cataloged and enumerated all the various requests people had. Those were discussed at length within the executive leadership team. It was compared against our strategic priorities, what you see on the board here of our strategic themes, what we're trying to do is to see which matched up against that. So that to the best, the best of it was a very, very much of a shared governance approach to this, and making sure that the input was had so that so at the end of this, as we reviewed the budgets with the various departments, it wasn't a surprise. It was just confirming what was there, what wasn't there, and they could then plan for this year. So very, very thorough look at doing the budget in there. In the budget are a few things I do want to point out. We have a 3% increase in our core from the state. I'm sure we don't remember that, but we do have that 3% core from the state is in here. For the first time since 2016, I believe, we are adding to the budget an increase in enrollment, 3%. And in 2016, the reason we did that is we added a lot of athletic teams. So for basically the first time, probably in 10 to 12 years, we are projecting an increased enrollment. When we're projecting that enrollment, we feel very, very good that we will meet that enrollment, if not exceed it. The efforts of our teams, our admissions group, our student service group, of everybody paying off in that. So this is a milestone in a way to be able to do that. We're very proud of what we've done there. We also, MOEXCELS 4, MOEXCELS 5 was approved in the budget, which is here's about 3.5 million for expansion of our dental hygiene occupational therapy programs. And again, the last 2.5 million of the American Rescue Plan monies did get appropriated as part of Help Us Build the CAP. So there's a lot going on in this budget. All that being said, and what in the end, what we'll be asking you for and what is in your budget and all the detail is budget authority of a little over $72 million for this. Of that, approximately 42 million is what I consider to be our operating budget. After you take out the pass-through monies for Pell, A+, MOEXCELS, things like that are specific. So, if there are any questions and things you reviewed, I'll be happy to answer them now. Hopefully there's nothing here that you didn't see a month ago, but if there's anything you thought about since then, I'd be very happy to talk about it, go over and review it. If not, we go forward with it. Questions? Okay. So at that point, then I'll ask, it's recommended the Board of Trustees approve the fiscal year 2025 budget. Budget authority of $72,030,957 as shown in the attachment that you have. The FY25 budget includes a compensation increase and tuition increase as you previously approved. It assumes a 3% enrollment increase over fiscal year 2024.
Entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
Second. Any other conversation? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Motion passes. Thank you for your hard work. You know, this is one of those things we'll hear about it all year long, but that's good. I feel like that we are, you know, not only the staff and employees, but we as board are very informed.
Well, again, I'd like to recognize Keith and the entire leadership team and really, everyone at the institution for their involvement in the budget process to bring it to what it is today. And it's a very, very strong budget, and we appreciate all the hard work that went into it. And particularly Keith's leadership towards that transparency, which I think we have a more transparent budget process than any time, at least in my tenure here at State Fair Community College. So I appreciate that.
All right, now a new position, Disability Resource Coordinator. So Scott?
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, everybody. As mentioned, this is a request to add a new position of a disability resource coordinator. In short, what we currently have is a coordinator who does counseling and disability services. What we'd like to do due to a mental health need, is to divest the disability coordinator services portion and allow that person to focus on counseling, and we'll establish another position to do the disability services. This position request has been through the budget process. As Keith mentioned before, it bubbled up to the top as a top priority to service our students better. And just, looking at some of the information Dr. Bates has supplied us with for, EOP retreat next week, one thing caught my eye is that one of the main reasons why students consider stopping out of college, higher education, the top reason is emotional stress. And short behind that is personal mental health reasons. So over the past 10 years or so, mental health concerns have doubled. So it's not the amount of students that are coming in, but the mental health services that these students require. So this is going to be, like I said, one of the top priorities, and it is a request that we'd like to propose. So it is recommended the Board of Trustees approve the addition of the Disability Resource Coordinator position to support the strategic goals to enhance student success, student support, and student well-being. This position works to create equitable access to programs and services for State Fair Community College students in compliance with Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 and the American with Disabilities Act of 1990 as amended. This position is responsible for assisting students with disabilities to identify, request, and effectively utilize support services and accommodations to mitigate educational limitations imposed by their verified disability. The Disability Resource Coordinator serves as a student advocate through collaboration with faculty, staff, and community partners, and raises awareness and understanding of the impact of barriers in a community college environment. Currently, these duties are handled by the coordinator and counselor access and disability services. The demand for both counseling and disability resources has exceeded the capacity of one position. This addition would allow the college to dedicate the other position to counseling. The need for this position was identified through service review, and the new position was prioritized as part of the FY25 budget process.
All right, I entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Any additional conversation, discussion
Well, I
needed?
think that this is a good type of budget. And this goes the process of the budget where this position, when we talk about positions to add, that we have the input across the college community that bring this position forward. So we see that the process that we've being implemented is producing and yielding intended results. And that's trustee, I appreciate that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
I'd like to note Scott gets extra credit for quoting retreat research at the board meeting.
Oh,
Scott.
all right, we're ready for student housing. Student housing software, Keith.
This is a request we're making with you. Back in April, you gave approved budget authority back then of $150,000 to spend. This is part of that additional budget authority you gave, getting this done. One of the priorities we identified as part of the 2025 budgeting process was with the new residence call coming on, with just the number of students we have in general in housing, which we increased in FY 23. We needed a more sophisticated system of managing our students versus what was not much better than pen and paper. It was a little better, but not much. So we had a task force got together. We need to get this done now because we have obviously students enrolling now for next year. Dr. Whitehead and group looked at it and have made a recommendation for some housing management software on here. Consistent with recommendation of how we present things. I'm keep trying to do it in my table format. So in there. So we're going to ask that you recommend the Board of Trustees accept the following bid as shown in the table below for student housing management software used by student services for our campus students, on campus resident students. Funding is the FY 24 additional budget authorization. The item selected is a product called Housing Cloud. The bidder was Student Residential Life Inc. The total price, including installation, is $24,500. We did receive 2 bids. Myself, I'm sure Dr. Porter, if you have any questions, we'd have to answer them.
Any questions for either one of them? All right, I entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Give me a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, automotive program instructional equipment.
The automotive program, as you know, we're building with the CAT. We continue to purchase various items for that program with primarily through the MOEX Sales 4 grant. This is one of those. These are mechanics tool sets. If you looked in your packet, you saw there was quite a number of tools being purchased. So they'll have a brand new sets of tools for them. They did bid this out. We had two bids. There's 22 tool sets being purchased for that with the variety of items you've seen there. So it's recommended the Board of Trustees accept the following bid as shown on the table below for mechanics tool sets to be used by the SFCC Automotive Program Expansion into the CAT. Funding is the State of Missouri MOEX Sales 4 grant. There are 22 of these mechanics tool sets. Vendor is MSC. With a total bid price of $134,340.50, and this was the low bid.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, same sign. Motion passes. Policy 6450, which is the definition of a credit hour.
Yeah, and if you don't mind. All right. So we think of the definition of credit being kind of minor thing, but obviously we have a policy, so it must be important. But in actuality, it actually is the base for how we present our academics as well as how we charge. So it is a very important aspect to us. So therefore, that's why we have it. I'll read this, and then if there's some other needed information, I will definitely follow up. But these modifications to the definition are really to allow us to align with the Department of Education's previous actions to eliminate the definition
of any mention of hours in or out of class. Instead, the department allows institutions and their accreditors to define a reasonable approximation of an amount of student work. This new definition allows SFCC and of course all other higher institutions to take into account alternative delivery methods, measurements of student work, academic calendars, disciplines, degrees, and so on. So in short, the previous one used to dictate how many minutes you did things, how many hours in class, out of class, and they're trying to open this up to more of a generic definition in order to allow us to have more control over how we deliver, but also we're still have that language that we're defined, that we will follow general practices. So it's very generic, but we will follow those, any other guidelines, our accrediting body. So as those change, we don't necessarily have to change our policy. And so we've gotten rid of the real hardcore stopping points, allow ourselves the ability to flex, much like building the 16-week, 12-week, 8-week, 4-week, those type of things. We don't have to worry about how all that works. So we also, this will affect obviously regulations, which will simplify and help us as well. So also for your background, so this just wasn't done to vacuum. We reached out to the Department of Higher Ed, got their input, reached out to see what other institutions' definitions, and there's no one single, you can't pick one thing. Nothing's necessarily wrong. It's just what fits you. And so this is what we chose to go with even they were okay with it. They had no problems with the definition as well.
In addition, it's gone through the institutional governance process, so college council, executive leadership, and other groups have reviewed. We anticipate the effect from the accrediting body.
Yes, sir. And then actually, that's what we're following is almost their guideline, their verbiage, HLC's verbiage, and it's really comes down to that generic approximation of work. So we basically what they do is say, you write it down what it is and you're following it. And again, there's guidelines that we can't get crazy by no means. There are bumpers, if you will, guidelines that keep us in check, but it gives us some leeway. So you don't have to have 15 weeks or 16 weeks. You don't have to have this many minutes. You can have longer classes, short. It's meant to do those things. So as long as we document that, and we follow that when the accrediting body comes, that's the intent.
In addition to the accrediting body, how about the transfer institutions?
Credit hours are credit hours, as long as you're accredited. So they have, and then again, based upon transfer agreements and those type of things. So nothing changes. And so, and they do the same thing. They have their own definition of a credit hour, which should be in alignment. And overall, we're all saying the same thing. To be honest, it's almost legalese, no offense to anyone, but it's almost that kind of, you can have that language dependent to allow yourself. Some put in more strict language for purposes. If you haven't learned me already, I like to have latitude so we can flex and be flexible. So that's kind of what the direction intent of this one is. So with that, it is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the modification of policy 6450 that modifies the definition of semester hour, which is the unit of credit at State Fair Community College.
I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Do I hear second?
Second.
Any other discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, the next one. So I've had eye surgery, and so I can kind of make out what those big letters are, but boy, I said, you must have shrunk the lettering, Lisa. Without glasses, I can't read it. So so I know it's to support for Justin Hubbs for candidacy for ACCT Board of Trustees, but I can't make out a single one of those words. So Dr. Bates, would you read that out loud so everybody knows what this is about?
Justin has expressed interest in pursuing a position with the ACCT Board of Directors. The Association of Community College Trustees is our national group of trustees. And so as he pursues that, he will be pursuing a committee assignment with the group first. And then once he serves on that committee, he will be eligible to run for the Board of Trustees, and that process requires the approval of the Board of Trustees and a commitment to support Justin in attending required meetings for that. So that's what we're asking for today, is for the board to declare its support for Justin's candidacy for the Board of Trustees, and starting with that committee work and providing him the budget to attend those required meetings.
Right, all in favor of giving that support to Justin Hubbs as he moves forward? I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? All right. We're not gonna ask questions yet, Justin, but but be prepared. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Justin, good luck.
Having attended these meetings, that to have a trustee from our college, but also from the state of Missouri, will be beneficial, because I think in some ways Missouri is underrepresented in the national organization.
We're behind you. Let us know how we can help.
Speech or no?
Not today. Dr. Bates?
All right, calendar review. The calendar is on the next page. I'll call your attention to the annual golf tournament for the athletic department. It's on July 22nd. There's still a few team spots available in the morning and a couple in the afternoon, but they're filling up fast. I learned this weekend that Richard's a golfer. I encouraged him to get a team together, but I'm sure his golf days may be behind him. But any of you, I would encourage you to do that. Also wanted to alert you to the convocation all staff meeting and to get it on your calendar. That's scheduled for August 16th. And it's a optional event, but at this event, I will give a presentation to the staff, faculty and staff, about the vision for the college for the future years, based in the work we're doing with our retreat. ELT starts with Monday and Tuesday, and the board retreat in July. And so that tentatively is going to be split into two. So the speech will be given twice with lunch in the middle, so that we can leave offices open and serve students during that time. So tentatively, there'll be a speech at 11 and at 1, and basically an hour time, not all me speaking, and lunch in the middle of that. So that's a good chance to see college faculty and staff and kick off the year. It's our kind of normal kickoff for the fall semester. So those are the calendar highlights. I do would like to give the board an update on the Fair Labor Standards Act rule implementation that goes into effect Monday. So we're trying to figure this out. No, we've got it figured out and we're ready to go and have implemented it, but I've asked Scott to just give a brief
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Bates. So just real briefly, we mentioned before how we're preparing for this, and it looks like none of the injunctions are going to go through in time before Monday, before this actually comes into effect. So we were prepared to move out, but essentially the Department of Labor, through the Fair Labor Standards Act, as of 1 July, we're going to be reclassifying 7 employees from exempt status to non-exempt. So this means they're going from salary to hourly. I've met with each of these employees. They understand why this is happening. I do believe it's a good thing for these employees. And we'll prepare for the 1 January date. It's a much higher exemption threshold. So we believe there's going to be some litigation in between now and then. And we'll just stay prepared and be ready to move out with those changes come 1 January, but be also flexible as these things move through the courts. Any of your questions?
How many staff impacted?
7.
You already said that. Did I miss it? Sorry. Thank you.
I wrote it down. Read what I wrote when I wrote it.
Those employees, Scott has met with those employees and so. He said that too.
He said that too. I got you, Scott.
I should have been looking ahead. Good job, Scott.
Thank you, sir.
Board retreat is July 20th. And at this retreat, it is a first step in the FY 26 budget planning process and a conclusion of the FY 24 assessment process. So we'll bring forward our assessment data and other information in terms of status of our strategic plan. And the deliverable from this retreat will be some direction from the board in terms of goals for the next budget cycle. As we start that all over again. There may be other things that the board wants to accomplish at its retreat. And so I wanted to say that if you have some direction that you'd like to give today or at subsequent times that we can start planning for that, we'd be happy to plan for that. There likely will be homework, as Scott said. If you'd like Scott to give you his cliff notes of the homework, he's available to do that. Any thoughts on the board retreat?
I think maybe for next week or two. I have something, I'll email it.
Okay. I'd like to get out a tentative agenda, an early agenda in 10 days or something or less for that. So. Anything else? Amy? Okay. We have the deadline for completing evaluations for all employees at the college has passed. And the board secretary was evaluated, and one of her goals for the upcoming year is to look for some ways that we can be more efficient in communicating to the board and sharing our agenda and in other things. For example, last month's agenda had 178 pages. We killed a bunch of trees for that meeting. And so we think that there's probably a more efficient way to do that. So we'd like to put together a subcommittee of the board for board communications for technical options. And 2 of you have volunteered for that committee, Justin and Patty. And Lisa and myself and Mark Averly would like to serve as support for that group. So if there's no objections, we'll set up a meeting and start working on it. I'd like to make a couple of announcements of things, just news that just happened. One, yesterday there was a legislative subcommittee that met concerning performance funding for higher education. There are several legislators in the Missouri State House that remain passionate about and committed to performance funding formulas for all of higher education. And a couple of years ago, the legislator allocated funds for the state to hire a consultant to examine our funding system and make a recommendation. And so that group, NCHINS, did that process, made a recommendation, and fortunately, that recommendation found that the higher education was severely underfunded in the state. And really, before you could start rewarding institutions for performance, we needed to bring up to the minimum standard level for funding. And so nothing really has happened with that, but this subcommittee of legislators would like to work off of that NIMCHM's recommendation and pursue a performance funding model maybe as early as 2027, 2028. So that meeting was yesterday, kind of kicking things off. They hope to have a report done by December. To support that committee's group, the Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development Commissioner has put together an interim committee on performance funding, comprised of presidents from all of the sectors and some other sector representatives. And I've been asked to be on that committee, so I'll keep you updated on that work. There have been 4 previous efforts to establish performance funding in Missouri in recent history. In fact, there is a performance funding model in legislation that has never been funded or followed. So we'll see what happens. And then finally, for some good news, was notified today that the following athletic teams will recognize as All-American athletic teams. And that's if the whole team exceeds a certain standard in grade point average. I believe it's 3.0 standard. So the entire team grade point average is greater than 3.0. And so the following teams were recognized for that: women's outdoor track with a GPA of 3.29, softball with a GPA of 3.54, women's basketball with a GPA of 3.20, baseball with a GPA of 3.25, women's cross country 3.23, men's indoor track and field 3.10, and women's indoor track and field 3.16. We had 2 teams that were missed it by 1 or 2 percentage points. So that's a really great showing of our student athletes. Student comes first in that. In addition to that, 47 individual athletes were nominated and will receive academic All-American status from the teams. So great academic showing by our athletic department. So, congratulations to our coaches, to our athletic director, and really to all of the faculty and staff that support students in the athletic program. And that's my report.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bates. Financial report, Keith.
The financial report as of May 31, obviously 11th month of the year. Given that we're on June 27th now, I have a decent idea of where the year is ending up. But we continue to have a very, very strong year financially, as represented here. Our revenues, most of our revenues as of May have exceeded their full year projections. I will tell you as of June 27th, all of them have. It was due to, all this was due to the efforts of a lot of people in a lot of departments in a lot of places. And I think everybody believing in what we're doing and how we're doing it. That, expenditure wise, sometimes creating revenue costs money too. For instance, a lot of the, we look at state grants and contracts. That's all the Missouri One Star, things like that. As we get those grants in, we also have to pay for instructors for those. So some of your instructions and other things go up with that as well. But as long as we can keep our additional revenues ahead of our additional expenses, that's a good thing. A little. And as you see here, while our expenses will probably be a little ahead of budget, they won't be dramatically ahead of budget when we're done. With that, also in some of the expenses are some items that will probably be reclassified as capital assets that, for some of the equipment we buy gets put here. And at the end of the year, we do a lot of moving those into capital assets. So long way of saying that the financial report is very strong. You'll see that right now excess on the general revenues and expenditures is about 3.7, which is the month of June is pretty much just an expenditure month. There's not a lot of revenue coming in, but well ahead of where we have been the past couple of years, and that will sustain itself through the end of the year. So long way of saying it's been a very good year, and I think our budget for next year is aggressive. It's a very, very thorough and complete budget. I think we've had a lot of folks look at it and feel very good about that. So anyway, only saying that we're about through this one, starting a new one. During the month of June, a couple of items that are above the 10,000, 25,000 range report to you. Pillars AV, which it says WaveNet wall mounting equipment. That was actually the cost of moving this screen from over there in the our brain cafe or whatever we called it. And getting that moved and getting all that patched up and this redone and that in here. So that's what that was for. The Schillers making that move up over to here, and then some advertising for Next Star. And that is it.
Thank you. All right, board discussion. What's listed on there is we just have completed the NCCA Leadership Conference down at Camden on the Lake. Richard and I were there along with Dr. Bates and Keith and Dr. Whitehead. And so, Richard, what do you think? What do we need to share?
Certainty was sort of the theme. We're going to have a new governor. We don't know who, really, we don't know who the new governor is going to be, and we really don't have an idea of the commitment of whoever the governor is will be to supporting community colleges. Just finished 6 years of a real strong supporter of community colleges, and especially workforce development. We don't know what the future holds. We're impacted by what takes place in Washington, D.C. We don't know what's going to happen there. We may or may not have a different president. We may or may not have the same Senate. We may or may not have the same House of Representatives. All those factors are lead to great uncertainty. The Department of Education has issued all sorts of regulations and changes and responsibilities for reporting almost without exception. There's a court challenge to everything that's being done and put out by the Department of Education. How that's going to work, we don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty. So the takeaway is that the college and every trustees, the administration throughout the college is going to have to be flexible, adjustable, and ready to respond to whatever happens, because there will be things happening that we're going to have very short notice on. We'll have a new couple of, I believe at least 2 new state senators in our service area. We're going to have a couple, I think maybe a couple of new state representatives in our service area. We are going to have a new U.S. congressman for the 3rd district, which covers the eastern part of our service area. And there's really no clues to who that person's gonna be right now. So it's uncertain. There's a great deal of uncertainty. And I think we are going to have to be prepared. Prepared as we want to go forward on the eastern side of our service area. We're going to have to be prepared to start establishing a strong relationship as soon as possible, as soon as we know who that person is going to be, who's going to be representing that area in Jefferson City. And so that was my. It's uncertain.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions for us from anybody?
Plus, nobody had any answers. So, probably shouldn't expect me to have answers.
Exactly. Well, we appreciate the opportunity to get to go and, of course, be with others in the state, leaders and trustees. So appreciate the opportunity to go.
I think we ought to also share that we had the opportunity to meet with Ji Hang Lee on Monday on campus, and well, the four of us here in attending physically, we were able to meet, and that
he is the CEO for ACCT, which is the National
Community College Trustee Association, and we and he asked us to share our concerns and issues with him. And then on Tuesday, he presented national issues that he had identified as affecting community colleges. And the issues that we raised were the issues that he had pre-planned to present to the conference. So at least so that the national leadership has done assessments that sort of mirror the assessments we're doing internally.
Well, so congratulations to Richard and Keith. They will be presenting at ACCT. We just got word on that because they were sitting to present at the conference. And so it has been approved. And so they've got work to do. We know they'll represent us well, but congratulations on that.
Mr. Lee shared some boards have board meetings as long as 7 hours.
All right, anything else? All right, well, so next meeting, note that this is a week early. So it'll be Thursday, July the 18th, 2024 at 5:30. No, there'll be a work session, but they'll notify us if there is. So put that on your calendar. So mark your calendar because it is a week earlier than normal. So if there's nothing else, I want to thank you all, of those of you who are here and with us. Presidential debate starts in about an hour and 10 minutes, so you've got time to get home. So I will now entertain a motion to request for closed session. Let's see if I can remember that number. Yeah, read it for me, Dr.
RSMO section 610.0213.
For
Personnel.
personnel. So,
Hiring, firing, discipline, or promotion of personnel.
and we would, Dr. Murders, Keith and Scott to stay.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Amy Beshears,
Yes.
Yes.
Tim is absent. Justin,
Yes.
Jeff Page, Richard Parker,
Yes.
and Patricia Wood.
Yes.
No action is going to happen in open session after this meeting.
So we'll immediately. Very, well, thank you, guys. Everybody, take care of yourself.
You need to log off and log back on in the.
May I